A quick introduction. I have seen this person live at the Vic Theater. I called it Vic at Vic. I am from part of the same area that he is from. He is an activist. He speaks for many people. And it is a damn honor to finally share a stage with him, even if it is not his own. It is the one and only Hasan Piker, everybody. No, Vic Mensa, everybody. So look, I was inspired when I first heard there's a lot going on. Your sheer honesty in the entire album. And in a past interview, I love how you said, like, what even is an album? It's an EP, it's an album, it's a mixtape, it really doesn't matter. But then to hear your sheer honesty again in the autobiography and many other projects that you've done, my first question to open up everything is, where did this inspiration come from? Why do you do what you do?
For me, music is catharsis. So I deal with the things that have happened in my life, the things that pain me. I heal through music. So if I'm not being fully honest, imagine you're having a conversation with Hasan, he's your therapist, you know what I mean? And you are not telling him the truth. How are you gonna heal from that? You know what I mean? How can he help you the right way? So for me, it's like making the music is like therapy. And I have to be as honest as possible so that I can assess myself, I can assess the world in the most accurate way possible. You know what I'm saying?
So it's your outlet.
It's my outlet, and I know it helps other people. Like, I do it for me first and foremost, but I know that when I talk about my depression and my drug abuse or suicide and things that were dark that I was talking about in the song you mentioned, that so many people reached out to me and were like, this saved my life at this moment. I was ready to end it. I had the means to do it. And I heard you talk about getting through it. Made me want to get through it.
This is an effect, it sounds like, that Cudi had on a lot of people.
Word, 100%.
So did you see that parallel as you were making this and when people were reaching out to you?
For sure. I mean, Kid Cudi is definitely a big inspiration to me. Man on the Moon itself is like,
so good.
And the hooks in that album always inspired me, and inspired me on the song There's a Lot Going On, actually. Like the rock tinge, all those are things that Kid Cudi's a pioneer of.
Definitely. So your activism has now hit center stage with your Camp America video. If none of you have seen it, it's an absolute must watch. It is the brutal honesty of what's going on at the border. You told us a little story about how you've offended some people and how they have been really ticked off at the way you are visualizing simply what is happening.
Right.
You put white kids in cages because, as you mentioned many times, in your music, and here's part of it, what if the shoe was on the other foot? I mean, this is similar to Shades of Blue, right? When you were talking about the white media coverage. What if this were white people, right? So why make this, and why trigger so many people?
Sometimes you gotta force people into their humanity. Sometimes you have to shake people into empathy. I do wanna say that all the kids in the video were hired professionally. The parents were all there. Parents were coming up to me being like, I really support your mission. One father brought both of his sons, and he was like, I believe in this political statement. I believe that what's happening at the border is a human rights travesty, and I wanna help. And that's why I made the video, because I know that what I saw in Tijuana and the inhumane situations people are put into. I went about 3 weeks ago. We performed outside of an immigrant prison called Otay Mesa near San Diego, and we crossed the border, went to Tijuana, met with asylum seekers, refugees. I mean, I saw a priest tell me that the mafia was coming to the shelter offering $1,000 for people's children because they can't even get in to make their claim for asylum. That's why I feel like it's necessary to make music about this. That's why I made the song, that's why I made the video, because, I mean, trying times, they make an honest man, and that's a lyric I had a long time ago, but real talk, like what you do when under pressure, and we're all under pressure right now. So what you're talking about at this moment, when we're under this pressure, really defines you.
What do you think about the juxtaposition of like the reaction that you got for having white children in cages in comparison to the reaction that people in media have to images that we saw recently of, I don't know if you saw this, but a father and a child and his 2-year-old daughter washed up on the Salvadoran migrant Oscar Alberto Martinez Ramirez, washed up on the shore in the Rio Grande. These sorts of images can't even get people to can't compel a lot of these same people that got mad at you to action. And when they see white children, even if it's fictional, even if it's not even an actual brutality, they react in this visceral way.
Well, that's white supremacy in action. That's the whole idea about white supremacy. That's what manifest destiny means. It means that it is my destiny to manifest your space. So whatever happens to you doesn't really concern me. That's the idea that racism in America is founded on. And that's what we see when someone says about the man that was washed up ashore, oh, well, he shouldn't have been trying to cross in the first place.
Yeah.
But then will be outraged when they see me make an artistic statement, putting the shoe on the other foot, that lets you know that our lives are seen as less valuable to them. You know, I mean, that's why we have a Black Lives Matter. And that's why we make the music we do and we have the conversations we do, because I feel like we've gone a little bit too far. It's like when you see something else, we can't be content with being treated like subhumans anymore. You know what I'm saying? We as the other, we as those that aren't WASP bloodline, we're not content with that anymore. We know that it doesn't have to be like that for us. That's why I do what I do.
How young were you when you felt your first experience of injustice?
You know, when I was a kid, man, like growing up, I never felt so racial, you know, because my mom's white from upstate New York, and my dad's a West African immigrant from Ghana. He's a PhD. Both of my parents are super educated, and I kind of felt like a little mixed kid, you know. I was playing soccer and skateboarding and doing all these things that other people in the hood were not doing, and it never occurred to me, you know, until I was around 11, 12 years old, and I started being treated in a certain way by the world. It made me understand rap music. You know, when I was a kid, I didn't understand why 50 Cent was so mad. Then I'm 11, 12 years old, and the police are like, take your hands out of your hoodie before I punch you in the face. You know, I'm like, maybe NWA was right about this, you know?
Yeah.
And that's really when I feel like I got a lot of identity and just started to understand my place in the world a little bit more.
And were you always into political hip hop? Were you into like Chuck D and Public Enemy?
Yeah.
You mentioned NWA.
Yeah, the first rapper I ever liked was KRS-One.
Oh, yes.
And I got on KRS-One through skateboarding though, through the Zoo York mixtape. You know what I'm saying? Because I was all into Guns N' Roses and Nirvana and Weezer. And then I got to be like 11, 12, and I got it on the KRS-One and really worked my way up from there. So I was always into a lot of political hip hop. And really, as soon as I started writing raps, when I was about 14, they definitely had a tinge of social commentary. That was always how I was coming.
So there's one thing that I want to turn to, and we're going to play this video of Laura Ingraham. This is something that I've covered many times on the sports division at this network. It is the coverage that what is our polar opposite of Fox News and what they put out and how they speak not only about Black people in this country, but also successful Black athletes. Roll it.
Create a new banner. This is a Jump Doc alert.
I feel like our team as a country is not ran by a great coach.
Must they run their mouths like that? You're great players, but no one voted for you. Millions elected Trump to be their coach. So keep the political commentary to yourself, or as someone once said, shut up and dribble.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's ironic that I'm wearing this, right? So, when I asked a few other athletes, covered the ESPYs recently, should athletes ever shut up and dribble? They all gave very profound, thought-provoking, no way in hell should we ever shut up and dribble. We are more than an athlete. That's why LeBron's company motto is more than an athlete. So when you're watching something like this, Vic, you're thinking what exactly as it's spewing out of her mouth?
Well, the first thing that came to mind to me was how Trumpian and funny it was that she said, or as someone once said, and proceeded to quote herself. You know what I mean?
No question.
I mean, I'm like, when I see that, I know the face. I know the approach. I know the tone, just the way her eyebrows, it looks like racism. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is what racists look like in my life when they've said racist things to me, you know? And that's what it is. It's like, I didn't go to NFL game ever since, you know? I haven't stepped back foot at Soldier Field because I'm like, man, I'm not about that modern day slavery and that idea that, you know, we're gonna be calling black people nappy-headed hoes and
SOBs.
You know what I'm saying? And really just degrading them while making this big money off them. You know what I'm saying? It goes into the college sports as well. It's like, in general, the whole industry is a bunch of very strong, athletic black men who are literally owned by a few crusty old white guys. If that doesn't scream plantation, I don't know what does. But, you know, I appreciate people like Kaepernick and LeBron and Kevin Durant that, I mean, just are able to keep a dignity to them and are not fazed by that because we know our value, you know?
For sure.
I think there's also an element of like economically anxious, agitated white folk who see black athletes gain notoriety, and it signals to them, especially because of people like Laura Ingraham and the racist commentary that they engage in. They see these people in positions of power and people who are famous, people who are wealthier, better off than they are, and they feel like their place in the racial pecking order is now threatened. And I think that's a big part of the reason why they behave this way, though. Like that Donald Trump can get away with saying stuff like, love it or leave it, or send her back. And I actually wanted to ask you about that as well. What do you think about the squad? Like AOC and Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Presley.
I love them so much.
Yeah, and the kind of racist remarks they have to deal with on a daily basis for expressing their love for this country.
Well, I really relate, you know? I relate to them on so many levels. They look like my cousins and my family and my friends. They look like the people that I know the best in America. Muslim and Latino or Latina, Latinx, and just people of color, man. African as well, you know, that's so beautiful to me and so inspiring to us. So it was kind of mind-blowing to me, not mind-blowing, but it took me by surprise a little bit when they started receiving so much hate, because on our side, we saw them get elected and we were just like, yes. You know what I'm saying? Some of our people, one of us, is in a position of power. And I think at this point in time, I relate to them in another way as well, because I've been in so many of the same situations and had the same finger pointed at me. Like, I went to Palestine and I wrote an op-ed for Time magazine.
I was gonna ask you about that as well.
You know what I mean? Like, I was there, so people also called me an anti-Semite just because I spoke about the Palestinian struggle. And I'm so familiar with the specific brand of racist vitriol that's being aimed at them, because it gets aimed at me all the time.
You know what? I put this out on Twitter the other day, and this is when Stephen Miller went on Fox News. I absolutely despise, while we're on this topic, as the Jew here. I mean, I cannot stand how Jews have been used as a shield for the way that many conservatives talk about this issue. It is always about, well, you know, this is super anti-Semitic. No, nothing Ilhan Omar said to me did I deem anti-Semitic one way or another, not at all. So this has been done many times in politics, where a certain group of people has been disenfranchised or used as a political shield to push a narrative. Now, what I'm seeing over and over again is, well, AOC's anti-Semitic and Ilhan Omar is anti-Semitic. Again, I know I'm repeating myself here. I don't find anything they did anti-Semitic. Not one bit, not one drop at all.
Anti-Semites that are calling them anti-Semitic. You know what I'm saying? Like, these people don't want They don't want Jewish people at their country club. They don't want black people at their country club. They don't want Muslims at their country club. They don't want Latinx people at the country club. You know, to them, they're definitely just using situations to put a label, you know, a negative label.
Well, even someone like Ben Shapiro will excuse the anti-Semitism coming from someone like Ann Coulter because she's ultimately pro-Israel. And it's ironic when you think about that, because even though Ilhan Omar, as you mentioned, didn't say anything anti-Semitic, she only criticized Israel, and it is absolutely warranted. They deflected away from that. They shielded from genuine criticism that Israel should be getting by claiming that it was anti-Semitic. So they don't care. It's not that they care about it. I mean, I'm looking at the comments under your Breitbart article right now, not the Israel one, which I was going to get to in a second, but and people are calling you the real racist because you put white kids in cages.
Congratulations, Vic. That's awesome, man.
I'm a racist, you know.
Way to go.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
Look, whenever you're getting ripped by people on Breitbart, specifically Breitbart, you're doing the right thing. You're absolutely.
You know, I will say though that convoluted, like, I know you are, but what am I? Approach to the idea of racism is, you know, so interesting to me, because you see it with Trump and with the squad, how he's continuously referring to them as racists. He says this very racist group of, you know, liberal senators, and I'm like, ooh, you know,
they're racist for pointing it out.
Tricky.
Yeah. You're racist for pointing out my racism is like, you know, next level 40 chess.
That's very tricky. You know, I mean, it's like, we have our Merriam-Webster's definition of racism, which is just discrimination based on race. But I think, honestly, man, like as time passes and circumstances change, in my eyes, I have a different definition of racism at this point. To me, racism has to be backed by power and ability to disenfranchise. That's real racism, you know what I'm saying? And I'm sorry, but AOC and Ilhan Omar cannot be racist against Trump because they have no power to disenfranchise her. They can't be racist to white America. They could be critical, you know what I'm saying? But that racism cannot be given the same label as the very real Confederate slave-owning brand of racism that dictates the right.
Right.
Yeah, but at the very, like, even if they were being discriminatory against Donald Trump on the basis of the color of his skin, which they weren't. Yeah,
like, you know, like oranges.
That would
not
be
in the citrus fruits. You're racist.
That would be entirely different than.
I guess clementines.
Yeah.
Which are the best with chocolate, by the way. Okay, real quick. I want to turn to Chicago.
Okay.
Something that is near and dear to our hearts. One of the rhymes that you put in 16 Shots, which absolutely rings true today. The mayor ducking when they fired the superintendent, but resignation come with bonuses and recognition. So incredibly true, yet it's something that nobody really thinks about. And then when you tell Van Dyke, tell him I don't bring a knife to a gunfight, best way to end anything. Yet, even further, I believe you spoke about Rahm Emanuel, so I want you to elaborate on this. Let's see real quick.
Rahm Emanuel, somebody that's purely in politics for power. You know what I'm saying? Like no other reason. Somebody that, you know, somebody that is in position because they want to help the city, not because they want the city to help them.
What I remember when I was living in Chicago was something you put in 16 Shots, which was, where's the tape? Where was the tape of Laquan? And now what we're hearing, when Swalwell was even up there at the debate stage, he was going after Mayor Pete, being like, you should have fired the chief, you should have fired the chief. Same logic applies to Rahm. Do you think now that Lori Lightfoot is going to be at least better, if not higher, way higher than Rahm Emanuel was in bettering Chicago?
I think that, first of all, Rahm Emanuel definitely is aiming big. He didn't just disappear, you know? He's clearly trying to get a more powerful position.
He's got a cushy writing gig at the Atlantic now.
I don't see that being it though. I feel like he's going
of course,
for the
of course not. He's just gathering influence.
He's going for the gusto. He going run, you know? And Lori Lightfoot, I'm honestly not as completely familiar with everything that she does because she's not actually from Chicago, so I didn't really know about her before. I was more familiar with Tony Preckwinkle, but I do believe that it's dope to have a black female mayor of the city of Chicago. You know what I'm saying? The city of Chicago is demographically such a dark-skinned city. You know what I'm saying? There are so many people of color in the city of Chicago that it's dope. It's dope to have representation in that way. And also, like, Ron was such a dirty dog, you know? I knew it from the moment I first heard his voice. I knew it. He was on the phone, he was telling us, we were kids, he was telling us, yeah, my favorite band. Yeah, he was on the radio talking about my favorite band, this, that. I was in a band called Kids These Days when I was in high school. Then we came to perform his inauguration, and when it came time to call out all the groups, he landed on us, and he was like, yeah, that band, I really, my favorite band again. What's y'all name? You know what I mean? I was like, okay, I know what kind of guy you are. You know, your brother is from Entourage, and this is your HBO. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I dig it. So when the whole situation went down, his whole damage control with the Laquan McDonald thing and his delegation of responsibility, trying to, you know, it was very serpentine, very political, and that's who he's been from day one. And Gary McCarthy, the police chief, I mean, all of them are guilty.
Yes, absolutely. The reason I turned to Chicago is also because of this. You are trying to do your best to save as many lives as you can. You are putting out street medics, correct?
Word up.
In Chicago?
Yeah.
So essentially what Vic is doing is, because he has seen it in his own family, he has seen friends, he's seen extended family, people are dying in Chicago, and you need to know how to react as quickly as you can in order to stop the bleeding and save a life. So could you expand upon that? So like what training are you putting in order to better the city?
Yeah, basically, so we're training first responders in Chicago's most violent areas. So we're teaching them practical skills, how to use your driver's license to stop the blood flow from a wound, you know, how to create a tourniquet with your belt or your t-shirt. And we've saved lives. I mean, we've taught kids how to react that have saved family members, that have saved friends when they've been shot. Where the reality of this situation is that we've been left behind, you know, and the resources have been sucked from our communities, and now it's time for us to save our own lives. I mean, it's something that I actually learned, just a little tie back to the past, was this idea was given to me in Palestine from an organization out of Gaza called Build Palestine. The kid was telling me how the ambulances don't come into Gaza because of the siege, so they can't get in and out. They're like, they have super long ambulance time waits, and people are bleeding out before they even get a chance to be addressed medically. And I was like, wow, that sounds like home, you know? And it's important to do those things. I know it gets heavy whenever you talk about it, but it's also, man, it's like beautiful, it's fun, you know what I'm saying? Like being in the community and being with the people, you know? Like not just the top pops and the fancy faces, you know what I mean? Like being with the people and teaching the people how to take care of themselves. That's the Black Panther Party, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I got the free Huey tattoo, you know what I mean? Got to do that on TV.
Yeah, amen to that. All right, unfortunately, we're out of time. It absolutely sucks because I could talk to this guy for like 12 days straight. He is going on tour. We didn't even mention it with his new group, 93 Punks. Travis Barker is going to be included in there as
Travis
well.
Barker,
This is showing how
album.
versatile of an artist this guy is. So please do check him out when he's coming to a city near you. Vic Mensa, thank you so much, man.
Thank you guys for having me, man.
Really appreciate it. We'll see y'all next time on The Conversation.
The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.